Hello, my name is Dr. Sandy Bhasin, and today we're going to be talking about the cause of headaches. If you're watching for the first time, my name is Dr. Sandy. I'm a practicing chiropractor. It's been over 20 years. I practice in the city of Mississauga. I've done over 300,000 chiropractic adjustments. I've taken quite a few courses and still looking for ways we can help our patients. Because we've put our patients first, because we are results-based, we have been blessed to win for several years now the best chiropractor in Mississauga, the best chiropractor in Peel region. I take that as an honor. I'm very humbled, but it tells me we are making a difference. We are making an impact and we are changing lives, which is what it's all about. And if you have been watching my videos for some time, I really appreciate you taking the time to continue to watch, to learn, and I hope these videos add value to your life. So let's jump into it. So one thing I love about chiropractic, when we look at the framework they've created, our job as chiropractors, what is it? So the brain is this big computer sending messages to the body. As long as your spine is in alignment, as long as it's moving correctly with no friction or pressure or compression on those nerves, the body is going to be healthy. It's a really straightforward system. But if there's any shifts, misalignments, compression, irritation, stretching, pulling on those nerves, whatever level it's happening at, we will see dysfunction at that level. Things will start to break down. So at that level, you might see things like inflammation, tension. It can start to affect the muscle groups. And then depending on the severity of it, it may affect things like mobility, cause pain, and then it may even be affecting nerves which start to affect organ function, because truly the nerve system goes to every part of the body. And I think sometimes there's a perception that, the spine, it hurts over here or it hurts in my low back, and that's part of the story. But always remember, the spine, as much as it controls muscles, it controls everything in the body. It's this massive, powerful internet. The brain's the computer, spinal cord is the internet, and it's sending these messages to regulate, to promote health. But if we block these messages, then we see dysfunction, we see a breakdown in health, and things are not working the way it should. So for this video, we're talking about obviously more like the upper spine, things that can affect and cause. So here's the question. If we can agree that healthy is a good aligned spine, misalignments can cause headaches, potentially migraines, dizziness, and all these kind of things, what causes it to shift? So let's start with that. So one thing I like in a chiropractic framework, when it comes to things that can affect the neurology, the nerves, the alignment, there's basically three categories. So there's kind of like a mental stress, there's a physical stress, and a chemical stress. So let's kind of jump into that. So emotional stress would be things like a busy lifestyle. Maybe your work is demanding. Maybe it's busy at work. Maybe there's a lot of deadlines. Anything work related can affect actually the spine. That's going to be a stress. Maybe it's work is great, but home life is tough. Maybe you're dealing with some teenagers. Maybe your family's great, but it's like hockey practice one night, piano practice another night. You're just go, 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 all these kind of commitments. Then you have social events on top of that. Just making sure they're doing good with their homework, things, I can relate to. Obviously, I'm a parent as well. So just that busy lifestyle can definitely cause stress. So, and imagine if you have stress at work and on the home front, that can be very demanding and very hard on your system. So there might have been no slip or fall or injury, but you've just been chronically under stress, and now it's showing up as headaches. Another category would be the physical, which I think for a lot of people, this would make sense. So someone gets into a car accident, someone slips and falls, bumps their head, sports injury, they're playing with their friends, the ball hits them. There could be so many things that injures it. And here's what can happen. Some people will get hit in the neck or around the skull, and they can get headaches right away. Sometimes you can have an injury and, weeks, months, and potentially even into the future, years later, you're starting to get headaches and migraines. And maybe it's actually a combination of the two, that maybe earlier in your childhood, you had a few slips and falls. Then as you got older, there was some stress, lack of sleep, busy life, professionally with your family. So it all starts to accumulate. And I'm more into that model. Like sometimes there can be one event for certain people, whiplash injuries, things like that. But I personally believe for a majority of the population, it's usually a combination of things. So there's that emotional stress, We can have the physical stress. What else is a physical stress? Using your computer. Most people are computer-based, looking at your phone all day. That's a physical stress. If you have a job with a lot of lifting, pushing, something repetitive, something heavy, that could potentially cause misalignments in the spine as well. Maybe you drive for a long time, you feel pressure in the neck, that can cause misalignments as well. And then the last one that can potentially affect your nerve system is chemical exposure. So maybe if you drink alcohol, certain foods, lack of water, too much sugar. It could be an array of things. Maybe you're allergic to something, but something doesn't suit you in your diet, lack of water. These things can actually affect the system, maybe cause inflammation, and that inflammation can start to change the configuration of the spine, and over time, just affect function, really simple. So looking at that, those would be the major categories. There's that emotional stress, physical stress, and then diet. So these could be potential causes. Now, another thing I want to get into as well is that headaches are not normal. And I really want to stress this because we'll have patients come to our office when we first meet. And I think sometimes people are busy, so they don't have time to deal with it. Or they kind of like brush it to the side. They're kind of like, yeah, Dr. Sandy, I'm getting headaches weekly, a couple of times a week. No big deal. And what I want to share with you is that, as I make this video, I want you to look at your health, how you're operating life, and I want to make sure you're operating at the highest level because I want to share something with you. Headaches are not normal. Now, let's say it's once a year, you were up late one night, you didn't eat all day, and it was like once that one time, and you can clearly see a correlation. I get it, something like that. But if you're in a pattern with reoccurring headaches, like every week you get headaches, once a month you get headaches or whatever, that's not normal. And God forbid someone says like daily headaches. That is not normal. And that should be addressed. And you have to start saying, wait a minute, like I've been living with this. And that's another thing. I'll meet patients who are like dealing with it. They're pushing through the pain and they'll even say, yeah, I'm good because I go to work, I take care of my family. But let me tell you something. When you have a headache, when you have pain in the body, you might try to cover it up, but you're not at 100%. There's a whole different level. And it might be subtle. It might be at work that you don't take on certain projects. It might be at home where like the family goes for a walk. You're like, let me just rest. I'm going to take it easy. And even when we look at headaches, there's a whole spectrum. We are talking from mild headaches, which maybe last a few seconds or minutes, something like that. Sometimes if we go to the other extreme, which would be like a migraine, you're talking potentially the day, maybe several days. Someone might be vomiting. They need to go into a dark room. That's very disruptive. That affects you professionally. Of course, it's going to affect you personally. That's not a way to live. And then when it comes to some of the things we may try heat, ice. And, we kind of do something, but it kind of just comes back again. You might have tried changing your diet, stretching, doing different things like that. And let's be honest, you might have even tried medication, taking certain pain medication. And here's the thing I want to start with before I go forward. Is there a time and place for medication? Of course there is. Of course there's. But the way I look at healthcare, this is what I believe, and I believe most people also think this way, is that when we're approaching a problem in the body, it's a ladder system. So we should go natural, of course, change your diet, your stretching, you're doing those kind of things, but do the most conservative thing, something like chiropractic, checking if there's a problem, getting it in alignment. And then from there, if there is a challenge or something, then you can look at medication, then you can look at an injection, and then obviously the last resort would be surgery, and especially with the top spine, that's very sensitive. So you always have to do an analysis and say, we've tried this, but I feel sad when I hear people who may have done something aggressive, maybe like getting injections, taking medication for a long time, and then they come to our office and say, I'm now looking for something natural. We're going to do our best to help them, but it would have been nice to see them in those early stages, do something natural, and then in a lot of cases we can avoid more drastic measures, is what we want to do ultimately. So having said that, another thing I have to also say is that I think sometimes we also believe that headaches or health issues or pain problems are strictly for adults or like older people. Another thing I want to share with you as well, who uses computers probably the most? The younger generation. They're using it heavily. probably more than ever in history, their phones, the computers. So yes, if you are 4 or 5 hours studying for a test, or you're on your phone, or you're playing video games and that posture is going that way, that will put stress on the spine. And yes, younger people can actually get headaches. I've had patients sometimes come in, the parents, they're like, oh, you know, my child or someone's complaining of this, but they're young, and there's this perception if you're young, you really can't be sick or have pain, and that's incorrect. Of course they can have health issues, and in fact, kids really should get checked and have those issues taken care of, because issues that are not taken care of when you're younger can linger, become chronic, and become worse as you get older. Whereas if they were addressed when that person was younger, they'd obviously have a better quality of life. So when we talk from a solution point of view, chiropractic is designed to improve the neurology, help the brain and body connection, help align it. And to me, it's one of the most logical things that I think we can all agree. If you can imagine with the spine, if there's any misalignments, muscles are also hooked to the spine. So just imagine, just on a muscular level, putting neurology aside for a second, if you have a system where there's a shift in the spine, the muscles are anchored and the muscles are like pulled on or imbalanced or spasming, that of course can cause stress in this area and lead to headaches. So just on a muscular level, but the great thing with chiropractic, with that alignment, it's going to help the muscles, the tendons, the ligaments, and the neurology. That's where we are proud to take our stand as chiropractors. We focus on nerves, we focus on neurology, because it's one of the most critical systems in the body. And then as this starts to work better and you have alignment, yes, we want those headaches to dissipate and those migraines to improve over time. But the beautiful thing is that you can have better focus. You'll be in a better mood. You can concentrate. You can do your work better because there's no pressure on that system that goes right to the brain. And even when we look at it, I mean, there's so many different things I've heard. I've heard of people saying, it feels like the pain's going into the eye, top of the head. A very common one is the side of the temples. All of this is nerve related. The nerves do affect that system. And if we can find a gentle, natural way to take care of something, aligning the system so the nerves can work the way they should, I think that's something that should at least be explored. And one thing I want to say too, because now I'm at a point that we have a system, we have a protocol, we meet patients, we do our best to see who's going to respond to care. We want to help everyone, but we also realize that it could be some other issues. So that's why we do our special testing to see the health of the nerve system. So in fact, if you're even listening to this, I would say the first thing is that if you've had headaches, if you've been frustrated with that, leave a comment below. Maybe you can mention some things you've tried. But I hear you. There's a better way to live. That's what I want to say with this video. The next thing I would probably say to you as well is that if you have some questions, reach out to our office. We'd love to see if we can help. Our number at the office, you can text or call us. Just if you have some questions, would be 905-896-3393, 905-896-3393. You can call the team, and you can even ask for myself, Dr. Sandy, and you just have some general questions. I can see on the phone, at least we can touch base and see if there's a possibility if we can help or not. And then if you are listening to this and you're like, you know what, maybe you're listening to this and you're okay, but you have a spouse, a child, someone you work with, who is suffering with headaches and migraines, and you think, you know what, they need to at least get assessed, they need to get a professional opinion of what's happening. We do something called a 7-point spinal checkup in our office. So there's certain tests we do, there's 7 things we look at: physically checking the spine, the range of motion, the blood pressure, and then really what separates our office from other offices, we have a special software, a special computer that looks at the nerve system. So it actually measures the stress levels in the nerve system. It measures the organs and how the organs are operating through the nerve system. And the best part of that computer system, it measures something called surface EMG, where it's looking at the tone of the muscle groups. So if the nerves are literally pinched, it can actually show how the muscle groups are getting affected. So through this testing, through looking at your history, through the 7-point spinal test that we do in our office, we'll be able to let you know if we can help or not. Hopefully we can, obviously. And like I said, now I'm at a point with the technology, just being experienced and looking for certain things, we have a very high success rate. We want to help as many people as possible. But I'll also be honest, sometimes people will come in and it's like, you know, I don't know if this is related to a spinal issue, or they may need to do something else first. They may look at different options, but that's why I like to start with a spinal checkup. So again, if you have any questions, reach out to us. And if you would like to arrange for a spinal checkup, a 7-point spinal checkup, text or call the office at 905-896-3393. We'd love to see if we can help, because here's the thing too, you know, time is passing, and if you're watching this video, like, there comes a certain point where you're like, you know what, I got to do something about it. This is not a way to live. I'm tired of not being there for my family, missing parties. I'm tired of calling in sick at work, not being my best. I want to know if there's a natural way I can take care of this. I want to be at my best. I want to be the best version of myself. And I'm also going to be super, super honest with you as well. Sometimes a patient will come to us and they've had something for a long time. And yes, we have a great success rate, but sometimes the conversation might be, hey, we're looking at a full recovery. Sometimes the conversation is like, you know what? You've had this for so long. Let's try to improve this by 20%, 30%, 50%, or maybe the frequency will be less, or if it does show up, it won't be as intense. But having proper alignment, having proper neurology at the top will always be a positive. You'll be better for it. If you're going through headaches and migraines and you have that misalignment and you get it corrected, it will help, and you will just feel better. And then connected to that again is the focus, the emotions, the sleep quality. Life will be better. And the dream, honestly, while I do respect medication, if we can avoid our dependency on it, avoid more aggressive measures, go the natural way to help the body, I think that's a beautiful way to live. So I really hope you got value from this video. God bless, and wishing you incredible health. Thank you so much.